All right, everybody, welcome back to episode. Can you believe what show we're doing here, TJ? We are on episode. Let's see here. Whew, episode 9 of Planet Council. It's been a
Yikes.
minute. It has been
Yeah,
a
it
minute for
has.
Planet Council. The specific minute I'm talking about is 4 months, 5 months. What is it?
hmm
Mid-November was the last time we did a Planet Council. The last thing we reviewed was chapters 11 and 12 of The Mandalorian. And then, life kind of happened. We kind of trailed off with the channel after that because that was just everything was busy with the holidays and stuff. But as you guys know, 2021, our mission statement is consistency. So we are going to bring back Planet Council. And I can guarantee you that the gap now will be a lot less to the next one because Bad Batch, we're right on the cusp of Bad Batch
hmm
hitting small screens everywhere, and we will be reviewing that every week with every episode that is coming out from there. As always, I just want to say welcome back to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk,
I'm TJ Cornwell.
and this week we are joined, as you can see right over there. We are joined by our dear friend of mine and TJ's and friend of the show, Chris. So Chris, how you doing? Are you excited to be on the show?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Awesome.
Just nervous, but
Yeah, same. Yeah, you should have seen some of our early recordings. If you ever
Mm.
wanna, if anybody's watching wants a throwback, check out the Pacewell podcast feed. That was an experiment. All
That
right.
was the name for like 2 weeks, and then I
Yeah,
was like, let's not do this.
but the video still exists.
Mm.
Look at that Snyder Cut, New Mutants, Mando.
Yeah.
It's the Pacewell podcast feed. Yikes. Okay, well, I think we landed on a better name, better look for the network. And speaking of the look, welcome to the new and improved Planet Council look. It's been so long that we haven't had these nice new thinner overlays with the neon designs at all for Planet Council. We haven't actually, we technically, besides posting it on Twitter and stuff, we have never used this logo for Planet Council until now.
Oh wow.
Which is nice, even though the logo has existed and you guys have seen it for a couple months.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad to be able to use it. I'm glad to be able to bring Planet Council back. So I think we'll start off with just we got a new friend, new face on the show today. Chris, what would you say was your relationship to Star Wars? Like, what was your first introduction to it? How did it grab you?
well, my first introduction to Star Wars, like weirdly enough, was like a pair of shoes when I was like 4 years old. My mom took me Payless Price. I saw like a pair, it was like these really cool pair of Darth Vader shoes. I didn't really quite know who
Oh
he
my
was,
god,
but I wanted it.
that sounds
Then
amazing.
then my aunt saw that I had those, and I guess she brought out a bunch of my cousin's like old Star Wars stuff, and from then on, I eventually like rented the movies and saw them.
Hmm.
Um,
Very cool.
yeah.
Yeah, very very cool. So yeah, with that, let's also get a gauge on where are you at with Star Wars on television. So have you dove into the Clone Wars Rebels stuff, or mainly just Mando? Where are you at with that stuff?
Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to watch the seventh season of Clone Wars yet. I haven't seen Rebels either. I'm all caught up with Mandalorian. Um, yeah, I just unfortunately haven't had too
Hmm.
much time on my hands to watch Rebels or even finish Clone Wars, which I'm very
Well,
excited to do.
I will say this: you got some 5 seasons of some pretty great television waiting for you on Disney Plus. As everybody knows here, I ride or die day one for Clone Wars and Rebels. TJ this past year, I think he's actually probably he's just this week is I think his oh no, sorry, that was last month. His 1 year anniversary of catching up on Clone Wars and stuff in time for season seven's premiere. Because
Oh yeah,
he
right.
hadn't seen them, but he binged them all so that we could start reviewing Clone Wars season 7 when that came out. um, but yeah, really, really great stuff. Especially Rebels. You know, if you can, if you can get through the first. I see. I don't even know because people are like, oh well, the seasons kind of like the first two seasons. If you could get through the first two seasons, you're fine. The first two seasons have some like epic Darth Vader moments, and then
Yeah.
the whole second season, I will not hear any blasphemy about the second season because if you don't like the second season, you have no right to call yourself a fan of Darth Maul or anything because that
Mhm.
is like his season. And then
Right.
obviously season 3 and 4 are like probably bordering on peak Star Wars. There's a big time jump between season 2 and season 3, and then season 3 and 4 is just, oh my god, just basically hit after hit of episodes.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would definitely check those out. And I know we'll definitely be talking about them in this episode here because there is a lot of stuff that does tie back to both Rebels and Clone Wars in this second season of Mandalorian, and more specifically in the tail end of the second season of Mandalorian, and kind of how all that stuff is going to convalesce into this little kind of, you know, for lack of a better term, Avengers that they're setting up with these shared universe of shows on Disney Plus for Star Wars, to kind of take on the big bad, which we will get to when he is name dropped in the episode that we will be discussing very shortly. So yeah, let's go ahead. I know that Chris, me and TJ, we already reviewed the first half of this season. What were your thoughts on the first half of this season? So, you know, from the Tatooine episode up to the episode with Bo-Katan.
I really enjoyed it. Sorry, it's been a while since I've seen all of it, so I'm trying
There you go.
to refresh my memory. Um, I overall liked it a little bit more than the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I especially liked. I hope he comes back. I think it's Timothy Olyphant's character.
Oh yeah, Cobb Vanth.
Yeah. Cameo.
Yeah, I really like him.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just trying to think of like all
No,
the
yeah, no problem.
episodes.
No, you're
Yeah,
good. I
you
know
got-
it was
so
a
we
long
got-
time ago.
yeah. So we got you know, episode 1 is the one with Cobb Vanth and the Crate Dragon, where they're taking that on for the small town and stuff, and then obviously ends with the Boba Fett reveal. And then after that we have the episode where he's trying to take the frog lady back home, and then they run across the spiders and stuff, and the two X-wing pilots from the New Republic.
Yes. Okay. The second episode, I think for me, might have been like the weakest episode of the season. Like I didn't think it was
Mhm.
bad. I don't know. I was also in the middle of like building a Lego set that might have been
Mhm.
part of the reason why. But I like the spiders and all that. I guess the story just of that episode didn't grip me as much as the other ones.
Mhm.
I did like the frog lady.
Yeah, that was very funny. And then
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
so
not
then
really
that-
alone on that one.
Yeah,
the,
I
the
think-
whole
yeah.
spider planet.
I think we came to the agreement too that it was probably the weakest, which is very interesting because that episode was directed by Peyton Reed, who then returns to direct the finale as well. So it's kind of interesting there. I think we kind of had the same kind of thing last year, where it was like Dave Filoni's 2 episodes. His first episode, the pilot was, or the, you know, just the Mandalorian, the first episode.
Mhm.
People were like, "Oh my god, awesome! What is this? Like, great!" And then his second episode, people were like, "Oh, it was kind of the weakest." But
Yeah.
like now
I
it's
don't know if
kind
the
of.
second-
I think last year it was episode 4, maybe. I can't remember the specific one. But yeah, and then now we kind of have the reverse where it's like everybody was like, "Oh, Peyton Reed, you know, I expected more from him." That's kind of stuff like,
Mhm.
and then he just knocks it out with the finale like crazy.
Yeah.
Which is just very, very cool. And then that brings us, speaking of Frog Lady, she is returned safely to her husband, albeit with a few less offspring, thanks to the beautiful baby Yoda, whose name we will be learning a little bit later on. And then we have the big episode with episode 3 of season 2, chapter 11,
yeah.
The Heiress. Obviously now that is referring to Bo-Katan Kryze, big, huge character from both Clone Wars and Rebels, coming finally into live action. Very cool to get to see the actual voice actress, Katie Sackhoff, being able, because they kind of, Dave Filoni has openly said, they kind of based the character model off of Katie in real life. So now all these years later, which, gosh, it's been almost like 14 or 15 years at this point for her, since they started production. Like, she is going to get to, or she does not going to get to, she did get to come on and reprise the role in live action. So Chris, what were your kind of thoughts on this episode? One thing to me that I'll just say that really stood out to me with this, that I still always come back to, is the cinematography in this episode blew me away. Like the shot where he is looking out at the water with the sunset, and then there's like that explosion that just looks like amazing. That's all done digitally with the volume. Like, I just think that's so awesome. So what were your thoughts on that episode?
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. I too was really happy to see Bo-Katan back. I didn't know that they actually based the CG model from the show off of her, because I was thinking to myself, I saw, I'm like, wow, she really does look just like a cartoon version. Let's see, was that like also the one where the sea monster almost eats Baby Yoda?
Yeah, that's one of the things
Yeah.
I liked about it.
Because the Quarren, like, I don't know what, fishermen, I guess they were. I don't know. I don't know. Are you a fisherman if you yourself are a fish? Like, they kind of trap him because they kind of trick Mando into thinking that they're leading them to the Mandalorians, but they're really just after the child.
Yeah, like even though like deep down I knew they weren't gonna kill kill him, it still was pretty intense. I also just I don't think we've seen like a plant like quite like that in the show yet. Like have like a water like fisher.
The water moon of Trask, it is called.
Okay.
Yeah. Very beautiful planet. I have some of the shots just in front of me here.
Okay, then like my last comment was like I think this happens in the same episode where like he teams up with them and they board the larger ship.
Yeah,
So
so
that whole sequence was amazing.
Yeah, so here we have they team up. So Bo-Katan tells Mando, he says that he needs to bring them back to the Jedi. They have that great scene in the diner where Bo-Katan says, I know a Jedi. I could lead you to one of their kind, basically. She doesn't give away the information that, how tight her and Ahsoka are. But she basically says, I could lead you to one of their kind if you help me with this job, because I'm trying to restore proper rule on Mandalore. So she is, recruiting weapons, arms, ships, gunners, all that kind of stuff, and people as well, to kind of take Mandalore back from who? I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about that soon. And then now cut forward, they have the amazing battle of taking the ship. They end up killing everybody on board. Well, actually, the captain, relieves himself of his life, but everybody else. So she was just trying to steal the arms. They end up with the whole ship, which, huge victory for them, obviously. But that brings us to the great scene before the captain kills himself, which is Bo-Katan saying, where is it? Where is it? And then we finally, for the people who didn't watch Clone Wars and Rebels, we finally establish the connection that Bo-Katan has with the Darksaber within the world of the Mandalorian. Because obviously, as soon as we saw the Darksaber at the end of season 1, everybody went, okay, well, is Bo-Katan showing up?
Except for me. I was like, what is that?
Yeah, TJ was like, I don't know what that is, but it looks cool. It looks cool in Gus Fring's hand. I'm all for it. But yeah, so we have that great scene, and he says, does he have, or she says, does he have it? And he says, if you have to ask yourself, you already know he does. Obviously referring to Moff Gideon, who at this point, is the big bad of the entire show. And then, I'm sorry, I actually forgot about an episode, which maybe that means maybe this one was not my favorite. I'm not sure. But episode chapter 12, The Siege, when he goes back to Navarro for ship repairs, and then they kind of do the whole thing where they're trying to take down that base that's on Navarro.
Yeah,
where
like
we
lone base.
Yeah, where we get the reveal of finally some of the Camino stuff, some of the cloning facility that is left on Navarro, and you get that great little voicemail message from Dr. Pershing. So Chris, what were your thoughts on this one? This was the one, where he meets it back up with Cara Dune and Grief Karga, and they kind of end the Mithril played by Horatio Sands from the very first episode, and they kind of have that like action scene where they're taking on that big fortress. So what are your thoughts on this episode? Did it stick with you as much as the others? Did you like it as much?
Oh, yeah, it really did stick with me. Sorry, I'm bad with my thought. Oh, and my thoughts
You're
organized here. Well, did you say this one actually happened before the Bo-Katan one?
No, this is after. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you missed an episode.
No.
I apologize.
Oh, yeah.
I just forgot to say, I forgot this one came between the Bo-Katan one and the next one.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really liked it. I like seeing the return of like Cara Dune, and also the name of I forget the name of that one alien guy from like the chapter 1 of
the
first
Mithril
season. Oh, that's what they're called.
Yeah, he doesn't have he doesn't have like a character name. They just keep calling him the Mithril because that's like what his species is.
Yeah, and Carl Weathers was in this episode too. Right?
This
yeah,
was the episode. So this was the episode that Carl Weathers directed as well.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he did. I thought he did an excellent job with it because, like, I'd borderline say this episode. Well, I guess it's a newer episode, but than the last one, but it sticks a little bit more in my memory than the Bo-Katan one. I don't know if I'd say I thought it was overall better, but I just like seeing the gang getting back together. And also all the stuff we learn once they get into the base. The base looked really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was a little bit confused at first, like what the experiments they were doing. Were they trying to infuse like were they trying to experiment on Baby Yoda to like infuse like the Force within beings? Is that what they were doing, or is it more?
I think at this point it's kind of still unknown. So I would say they're either trying to just clone Baby Yoda, or because he's just a little baby, I would assume they are trying to they're trying to clone his metachlorians and put them into other people. That's what I was assuming, because it's like a baby, like, yeah, he's super strong in the Force, but he's not an ideal soldier. Like, ideally, if you're going through all this trouble, you would want to have the ideal soldier infused with metachlorians.
We were also hoping that this was some sort of more of an elaboration on Rise of Skywalker and the whole like Palpatine coming back type thing, which honestly I think I said this whenever we reviewed this episode like months ago, which honestly I think is something that both Favreau and Filoni when writing this would be very interested in, because that they know the gaps and everything, so it's something that they might be like, yeah, I mean, even though like I hated the episode they released before Rise of Skywalker came out. That one where Baby Yoda is like healing Grief Karga, and then in Rise of Skywalker, Rey does the same thing. And I was like, they literally just put that in the episode so that they could put it in the movie, so nobody would be like, "Oh, that's never happened before."
Yeah.
But I thought that's what they were hinting at.
Same. I think both are absolutely true. I think it just goes to show us that. Okay, so let me ask you guys this fan theory, or not even fan theory, just a little bit of speculation. So we've seen that they are doing cloning. We know that the Emperor himself has been cloned multiple times. And we know that the patch on Dr. Pershing's arm and the soldiers' arms in this base all have the Kaminoan symbol on it from the Kaminoan cloning facility, from both Clone Wars and the prequels, obviously. Do you guys think that the actual Kaminoans are behind this? Do you think we could see the Kaminoans in this series or in something else coming up? Or do you think this is more the Empire stole their technology and just kind of co-opted what it is? Do you think we could see... Oh, I just had a great idea. Do you think we could see Boba go back to Camino to investigate some of this stuff in the Book of Boba Fett. That's where he was raised. That's where he considers to be his home. And we're getting a show totally focused on Boba Fett.
I would love to see that. I was gonna say I could see, like, even before you mentioned that, like, I could kind of see the Kaminoans coming back. It'd be kind of interesting, like, if they did have like an episode in the Book of Boba Fett where he
Yeah.
goes back there, where maybe it's like a hybrid of the theories where the Empire did steal the technology, and they're like, well, let's get it back or get revenge or
Yeah.
whatever.
Or maybe it could just be one of those things where, because we know these shows are going to kind of interlink Avengers style, where like they'll have nods to each other and then eventually cross over and everything. It could just be an episode where he wants to go back there to check in on it or whatever, or maybe he needs something or a piece of information. He goes there and realizes that in the years he's been out of commission, it's like been decimated. That would be very, very cool if he goes there and there's like nobody left or something like that. And then he's like, "Oh crap, what the hell's going on here?" Like, you know what I mean? That would be a cool way to unravel it a little bit more. But yeah, I would definitely be up for to see the Kaminoans again, absolutely. And then we have the end of this episode with two pretty big reveals here, which is, as we know, Mando is back on Navarro for ship repairs. We get kind of the reveal that one of the mechanics was working for Moff Gideon. Go figure. So she installed a tracking device on the Razor Crest. And then we also get the report back to Gideon that the tracker has been placed on the Razor Crest, and then we get the reveal with the camera when it swings around that he is looking over the Dark Troopers. Dun dun dun.
Oh yeah.
So what did you think about just the end of that? Were you like, oh crap, what the hell are those? Or were you familiar with Dark Troopers or anything like that?
It's funny you say that. I guess at first it didn't fully click in my mind that they were the Dark Troopers, but funny enough, I was actually playing. Have you ever played Star Wars? I think Dark Forces. It's like that old FPS. Kind of looks like it was made around the time Doom was popular. I'm not sure if that's where they were first introduced, but those are like, those things are like, I think they're like one of the main enemies in that game.
Yeah.
For some reason the dots didn't connect in my head until like a later episode that that's what they were. So at that moment I was like curious as to what was going on, but everything didn't click together till later on.
Yeah, and I can click it a little further for you. So they're not a big presence, but they are in Rebels, because they are heavily tied to a character that we will talk about in just a little bit. And you also see his symbol of kind of his area of the Empire in this next episode that we are going to discuss. So yeah, it's if you want some, Dark Trooper more information, just a little bit more. It's not a ton, but a little bit more. It is talked about, and they do appear in Star Wars Rebels. So let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and dive in. We've got about a 15-minute recap on the previous rest of the series. Now let's go ahead and do a pretty good dive in to the rest of these episodes. So now this is chapter 13, The Jedi. Obviously, this is the big one. This is where we have the huge reveal that the fan casting of all fan castings actually came true, with Rosario Dawson playing Jedi Ahsoka Tano in live action in The Mandalorian, reteaming with Dave Filoni. Or not reteaming, I should say the character is reteaming.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on this, Chris? And then we'll hop over to TJ. What were your thoughts on kind of this reveal? We kind of, everybody speculated it. This was something that was speculated very, very early on, before the season came out, that, it was really happening. What were your thoughts when we actually finally got it in live action?
Like the reveal of Ahsoka.
Yeah. Just the fact that there she is, that's really the character that we all, know from the Clone Wars in live action, finally.
I think if it wasn't like I didn't hear all the rumors about it, I probably would have been jumping off the walls excited, but I was still very happy to see her there. Trying to remember, like, I'm trying to go through in my head everything that has happened in the episode, because like the first thing that comes to mind is gonna say I thought they did the makeup on her. Trying to remember the actress's name.
Rosario Dawson.
Rosario
Yeah.
Dawson. Yeah, I thought they did a really. I was like, I always wondered if it'd look very good in live action. Like, I know we've seen that alien species, and I think briefly in the prequels, but I thought they did a good job with that. I
Mhm.
like how they. Oh yeah, I like how I guess I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Can we go on to TJ just so I can collect
Yeah,
my thoughts? I
absolutely.
apologize.
Yeah, so yeah, I liked how they kind of revealed her in the beginning, like walking up. I mean, we all kind of knew, as Chris said, like everybody kind of knew that it was coming, especially just from the title. Like it was Lily Filoni directing it, and it's called The Jedi, so it's like, oh,
Yeah.
obviously she's gonna show up in this. And I love the whole like, we're taking from the different, Akira Kurosawa samurai type inspired films, and we're putting that in there. Especially with like just the battle between, I forget the character's name. Do you remember her name? The one who's
Um
kind of like running
yes, so she has
the
a
town.
name, but she is, I forget her actual name, but she's referred to as
Yeah,
the magistrate
the
in this.
magistrate.
Yeah.
Okay, so like the battle between like Ahsoka and the magistrate, and kind of going back and forth, and we find out. I mean, I think they say it already. They say it earlier in the episode, but the spear is basically just like
Pure,
proof, like you can't
yeah.
cut through it.
It's pure
Um,
Beskar,
oh,
yeah.
it's Beskar, right.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have the whole thing with Ahsoka and do we or my God, Grogu. Oh my lord, I was like
Yeah.
blanking on his name. Um, and she basically is saying that she can't teach him. It's because of Mando's connection to him, correct?
Yeah, so
It's like
basically
the whole thing,
we get that amazing scene of all three of them, where
right?
she's kind of communicating with Grogu and all of that stuff. And she basically says, "Listen, guy, listen here, buddy. I'm not going to train this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's like his attachment to you is like a father and son." And then you get the great you don't get an Anakin name drop in this, but for those who know, you know who she's talking
Mm-hmm.
about.
Mhm.
She has that great acting moment by Rosario Dawson in that great line where she goes, I have seen exactly this, what it does to the best Jedi in the universe. Like literally the best of us fell because of this exact thing, because of
Mm-hmm.
his attachment basically to Padme, to her, to Ahsoka herself, like to
Right.
Obi-Wan, to everybody. So she's like, listen, guy, this is way too much of a risk for me. I'm not doing it.
Count me out.
Yeah, but she does give him the information that we've been communicating, and then we get the name. She says his name is Grogu. So what did you guys think? What was your initial thoughts on the name reveal? We'll go to TJ, and then we'll hop over to Chris.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I've probably said before, like I still call him just Baby Yoda
Hmm.
because I just like saying that. Like Grogu is just like it's like like I don't know. I mean, it's a net like I can't imagine like I don't know how they came up with that name. Like, did they go into
Yeah.
like a name generator and are like alien name generator, and they're like, we need a
Hmm.
name for this little kid, and he's green and he's actually 40, but he looks like he's 1.5, and then the Grogu popped out. But yeah, I like it. I think a lot of people still call him Baby Yoda.
Hmm.
Like I feel like the majority of people that watch the show call him Baby Yoda still. But I mean, we might not have to for that much longer because we'll kind of get to it at the end of the
Yeah,
season when
exactly.
we're
And
talking
I'll
about that.
say too. And then I'll hop over to Chris, and get his thoughts. I, I try to call him Grogu as much as possible, just because I know
Hmm.
that's what his real name is. But I don't call him Baby Yoda almost at all. Like unless I'm
Yeah.
talking to somebody who like it doesn't know like about the
Right.
shows and stuff. I'll be like, oh yeah, Baby Yoda, like But I'll usually say like the child if I don't say Grogu. But I'll say it's the
Yeah.
exact same thing. How many people are walking around saying, "Oh, who's your favorite Star Wars character?" Oh, Din Djarin. You know what I
Din
mean?
Jar. Yeah.
They go, "Oh, Mando." Like or the
Hmm.
Mandalorian. Like even though we now know his name, we found it out in the end of season 1, and now they use his name all the time in season 2. Like all the
Right.
time they
Mhm.
call him, refer to him as Din Djarin and stuff. Um but people will still call him Mando for the entire run of the show because that's what people are used to. So I wouldn't be surprised if Baby Yoda just sticks for the rest of time. So Chris, what were your thoughts on the reveal of Grogu?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind, I don't know if you guys watch American Dad, but there's a character in that show, like an alien character named Roger, and there's an episode where he has like a little, like this tumor that comes off of him and turns up to like a little mini me version of Roger, and they name him Grogu. And that's the first thing I thought of was the character from American Dad whose name was Grogu.
That's
Grogu.
funny.
So when you're saying, like, part of me was wondering if they just watched American Dad one night and the writers are like, let's just name him Grogu, change the G
Wouldn't be
or
surprised.
the R for a G. But
That's funny.
like, I actually kind of like the name in a way that, like, I find it so stupid that kind of entertains me. I don't know. I enjoyed the name. That's a weird statement to make about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, that's what I have to say.
Boom. Yeah. So then we get another tidbit in this scene. I ask you guys here. I'll ask this question. So we get Ahsoka saying, you know, she doesn't call it Order 66, but she refers to it as the Purge. Who obviously, you know, I know Chris hasn't gotten there yet, but in season 7, obviously we see her perspective of those events. She says that he was hidden away and you know, rescued by somebody during the Jedi Purge at the Jedi Temple. Do you guys think that we will get that story in the Bad Batch? Because that's what people were speculating, that they are going to somehow tie Grogu back to the Bad Batch, and that is where, you know, that's who saved him from the temple. Do you guys think that could end up happening, or do you think that's just kind of like wishful thinking on fans' parts?
I think it's kind of wishful thinking. I honestly don't think they'll bring that character to animation, in my opinion. I think it'll be like specifically live action, and
Gotcha.
Again, after the season finale, we don't even know like what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I just don't see it being. I feel like it's that kind of, not that it takes away, like even if he were to show up in that show, like I feel like it'd be for like maybe an episode, maybe less than that, because then it's kind of taking away from the story of the Bad Batch, which is what the show is about.
Like here's my take on that theory, and then we'll get Chris's thoughts. So for me, right now there's two questions with Grogu, right? Who saved him? How was he saved during Order 66? And how did he become unsaved? How did he end up with Moff Gideon? And then how did he end up away from Moff Gideon in the pod where Mando finds him? You know what I mean? So my thing is, even if you say, oh, this is how he was saved with Order 66, you still have lingering questions. That's only answering one of the many questions that we would have. It's like, I don't really see a point. It would be a difference if it was like, oh, that's the big mystery about Grogu. It's like, no, that's just one of many things that has happened to this guy in the past 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, I just kind of feel like we could see it, like maybe, but I just feel like we don't need to see it. Because it's like you're all right, you're answering this one question we have about him, but then do you feel obligated that you have to then answer everything else? Like, So yeah, that is my thoughts on it. What do you think, Chris?
I kind of agree with you with the sentiment that it's not necessarily something we have to see. I can see them maybe like making like an issue of a comic book or writing like maybe like a novel about it.
Yeah.
Like as to like who might have saved him, like again, like I wouldn't be surprised if they just made up a brand new character.
Yeah.
Who saved him.
Mace Windu saved him.
I'd be
one
down
thing,
for that.
I would actually like that, but
oh yeah, I would love that. If that was the answer, I would want that answer. What's it called? My
God, can you imagine Sam Jackson and like bring Sam Jackson back?
Yes.
Age him down.
Amazing.
Oh my God, that'd be so funny.
We know that Disney has all the files they need for de-aging Sam Jackson. So they could definitely do it. They just got to shave his head, which probably would make it easier because you don't
Right.
have to
If
deal
it's
with like the hairline and stuff. So, ooh, what was I just gonna say? Oh yeah. So one thing that I will say that I could see them solving this in is all those things like forces of destiny about all the women in Star Wars. Galaxy of Change, those kinds of animated shows for kids, those are all still canon. So like the argument that like Hera and Han have after the Battle of Endor about which ship is faster, the Ghost or the Falcon, that is canon. Like that happened. All those little shows for kids that are like 2 or 3 minute episodes, those are all canon. I would love to see a little. Give me a Forces of Destiny Grogu thing. Give me like a 6 minute short just showing, what happened. And then now we have the answer, but we don't have to dive deep into it. It's just, hey, this is what happened. One of the Jedi just kind of shoved him in a pod or sent him off in an escape pod. That's all you got to do. Like something like that. That would be cool. I don't think it needs I don't think it needs an arc on the Bad Batch of rescuing Grogu. Now, am I saying that I'm going to be disappointed if we get that? No, I'm not going to be disappointed if we get that. I'm just saying that a lot of talk lately about fan expectations and stuff like that, especially with Star Wars, but now it's kind of bleeding into Marvel as well. I just think don't expect things that we don't really need to get. That's my thoughts on it. But yeah, then we get the awesome fight between the Magistrate and Ahsoka, and then we get the name drop of all name drops, which is, here we're thinking that Moff Gideon's the big bad of this whole universe, or this whole franchise at least. And then we get the question that Ahsoka asks, where she says, where is your master? Where is he? And she goes, I'll never tell. And then Ahsoka kind of pushes in further, and she goes, where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? We are getting Thrawn Yorodo in live action. Chris, now I know you haven't watched Rebels, but are you familiar with Thrawn as a character outside of it in books or anything like that?
Yes, I haven't read any of the books he's in, but I am familiar with the character. Like I've seen like several YouTube videos where they describe who he is and what he does.
Now I know, TJ, I know that Thrawn is your favorite Star Wars character of all time. Let's go no. But what were you guys' thoughts on this reveal? I'll go first, I guess, with this. For me, Thrawn is not my favorite Star Wars character of all time, but he is firmly top 10. I think the Thrawn novels that I've been reading and TJ's been reading them too currently are just so great. The character is just so great. I went on a rant a couple weeks back on the Planet Film show about it, just because for me, I just feel like there's a bit of a disconnect with his characterization on Star Wars Rebels versus the books. In the books, he's more of a calm, calculated, nice person.
Intellectual.
Yeah, nice intellectual person who just is working for the Empire. In Rebels, which I understand because it's a kid's show, so you have to change the characterization to make him more of a villain because kids aren't going to care if it's like, well, why is this bad guy not being bad? Like, what I mean? Kids aren't going to like that. So I understand it on that level, but it's just in Rebels, he was more of a cold-hearted, merciless guy, and that's just, to me, not really who the character is. But those were only certain scenes. I would say certain scenes in season 3. Season 4, Thrawn felt a lot like Thrawn. But for his first kind of introduction, just kind of felt a little bit off. So I'm hoping that the Thrawn that we inevitably get in live action kind of treads the line more of the book character than the characterization we got in Rebels. So Chris, what are your thoughts? We'll go with you first on the Thrawn reveal.
Oh yeah, I was very interested to hear about that, especially those rumors about Robert Downey Jr. Possibly playing him.
Oof.
Actually, I did have a question to you though. Did you read like the original books that had Thrawn in it?
Yeah.
Like I think it's like a legend. Oh, you read
Mhm.
those ones too.
Yeah, the
Like
Heir to the Empire
okay.
trilogy. Yeah.
So was his character any different in that compared to like the current book series with him in it?
So the main difference is the characterization. No, it's exactly the same, but the actual man, like the actual character, is different because uh, it's kind of two different time periods that he was in
Mhm.
prominence. So in Legends, he was banished out to the unknown regions by Palpatine, and then only returned post Endor. So he
Mhm.
didn't have a big relationship with Darth Vader. He didn't have a big relationship with Emperor Palpatine in those books. It was more, all
Mhm.
right, I'm back. What can I take control of, kind of stuff. In canon, because his peak prominence was prior to the Battle of Yavin, more prequel stuff, and in between Episode 3 and 4, he has a huge part of his character is his relationship with Vader, and then a huge part of his character is his constant, kind of back and forth relationship with the Empire. And then as the books go further, you get his relationship with Tarkin, his relationship with Krennic, a lot of the different people that we're now used to, with the Empire. So that's kind of where it differs a little bit, but in terms of the actual character, it's pretty similar. It's just the places that it has to be different because of the time period that it's in. But that being said, now that all of those people, Tarkin, Krennic, Vader, Palpatine, they're all gone, I think when we get
Mhm.
him in live action, he might be a little closer to the original character. Because now we're kind of
Mm.
basically where we were originally, where he is. I'm not going to spoil the end of Rebels, but I'll just say he is in the last time we knew about him, he is in the unknown regions. So
Okay.
now we might be able to line up a little better with the original novels. And then TJ, what did you think of the reveal?
I was pretty excited. Obviously, I think yesterday Benedict Cumberbatch said that he has no interest in playing that character, which I think
Yeah,
was a lot of people's like one of their fan castings. The other one is
Michael Fassbender,
what's it? No,
Lars Mikkelsen, like the actual
yeah, yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is he related
This is his
to
brother. Yeah,
Matt? Okay, that's what I thought.
yeah,
But yeah, I was excited. I'm assuming that they could turn that into obviously his appearance on Mando, which they're going to do at some point, and obviously he might show up in these. Actually, is that a might, or do you think that's like
What
95%? He'll
thrown
show up
in
in Ahsoka.
Ahsoka?
Yeah.
I would say 100%.
Okay.
I would
Then
say
that.
I would say it's like 99% chance he shows
Hmm.
up in Book of Boba Fett. I would say it's 100% chance he shows up in Rangers of the New Republic. 100% he shows up in Ahsoka, and 100% he shows up
Jeez,
in
you're saying
Mando.
everything.
I think no, I think they're setting Thrawn up to be kind of the
And the
Thanos
big bad.
of this
Yeah.
universe. I think it's every
Yeah.
show. I think the only reason I say 99% on Book of Boba Fett is because I think that might be a little side quest area. You know what I
Right.
mean? To kind of get Boba back to
Yeah.
being Boba.
Yeah.
And then I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like Boba's like, all right, I got to go back and help these guys out, take
Yeah.
this guy down.
And then the other thing, like, as soon as we heard that name, everybody immediately goes, "Well, where's Ezra then?"
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
again, not to spoil anything, Chris. By the end of Rebels, they're kind of entangled.
Yeah, the two
In
characters
some
are
way or
very
another.
linked. Yeah, yeah.
Linked.
So if you get
So
one showing up, you'd be like,
you might
okay,
get the
where's
other.
the other one? Yeah, like
Yeah. But yeah, so that made me even more excited, and
Mhm.
maybe I've heard there's possible news of, I think this is a few weeks ago, that the guy who played Aladdin in the live action Aladdin would be playing Ezra.
yeah.
So that'd be cool.
hmm
But yeah, this just made me really excited for season 3, and obviously the other series that they have coming.
Yeah. Now, TJ, I'll put this to you because you're familiar with the character, but maybe people watching probably definitely aren't. And Chris, I know, isn't. um, I've seen reports and speculation that possibly we could get, before Thrawn himself shows up, we could get Eli Vanto in live action showing up in this show. What are your thoughts on that? With getting somebody from the novels, because Eli right now is in
Oh,
the
yeah.
out the unknown regions.
It'd be cool, but it'd
Mhm.
just be such a pull. Like you really have
Yeah.
like, because the
To
only people
me,
that are going to know who that character
if
is are from the
Cobb
books.
Vanth can show up, and it's
Yeah,
no issue, I think Eli Vanto can show up.
yeah,
Cobb Vanth was such a deep pull from the Aftermath novels, he's such a small character in canon, and the fact that they
yeah.
brought him into live action, I think Eli has been in not every book because he wasn't in the second one, but he's been in 3 of the 4 Thrawn books. So I think he's a more familiar character than Cobb Vanth. I think it's doable. I just don't. It would have to be a reason, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he can't just show up for no reason.
Because we already know, like, okay, well, this Moff Gideon, like, oh, he's the big bad, but it's like, no, he's just a Thrawn pawn, basically.
Right.
And it's like, are you really gonna do another guy who works for Thrawn just slightly higher up the ladder? You know what I mean? It's like just bring in the big guy. Like,
yeah, Chris, this
give
is
us
basically
as much
like
screen time.
this is basically who Thrawn gets like stuck with, basically in the first book, right? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, so it's like his kind of his assistant to acclimate him into the Empire, but then Eli in the first book, and then definitely in the later books, he becomes much more of his own character, and it's kind of like a begrudging friendship turned into a very strong bond, like mutual trust type thing. Like, I would say, like, Eli would be like Thrawn's closest human ally, like the closest human that he would trust would be that. So it kind of like I mean, I have no idea where the character is now because the book that I'm on right now is set. All the books right now are set prior to Rebels. So I mean, I don't know where the character is right now, but you know, it has the possibility of showing up. Is what I'm trying to say. All right, so let's go ahead and go on here. So then now we get the end of the episode. Ahsoka tells him, you know, go to the moon or go to the planet Typhon. There you'll find one of the original Jedi temples. And if you place Grogu on the, what did she call it? The Seeing Stone, or place Grogu,
something like that.
Place Grogu on the main stone. It's a Force beacon, and he'll be able to reach out to other Jedi. She uses the term Jedi, or other Force sensitive people in the galaxy. And then someone will be able to take him that might be able to train him aside from me, basically. So that leads us right into episode chapter 14, the tragedy, which definitely was a tragedy. Not the episode itself, because the episode itself was fantastic. So we get cracking in this one, man. We start off, and we are landing on Typhon. We are heading up to the Jedi Temple, and then all of a sudden, right in the background, we see Slave One coming through the sky, about to wreck stuff up. So TJ, I'll start with you. What were your first initial reactions to this episode overall? And when Slave One showed up, were you like, "Oh man, this thing's about to pop off"? Right now?
I was like, finally, because we saw him in episode 1 at the end, and then we didn't see him until.
I mean, this was
episode.
like 6 weeks later that we finally saw him again. And boy, did we see him!
Yeah, I was just excited to see the character, and see what they were gonna do with him. And again, this episode is so action packed, like, but yeah, I was just really excited to see the character.
Yeah, same. Chris, what were your thoughts on getting to see Boba in his full glory in live action in this episode?
Oh yeah, I was really excited to see him all as well. I was at one of the I was weirdly relieved, like, that he ended up kind of becoming an ally.
Oh, same.
Right.
And by the end of it, like, I don't know, because I really like Boba Fett's character, and I guess, like, he's cool as, like, an antagonist also, but I just wanted to root for him a bit more. He was trying to get his armor back this episode, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was basically tracking Din because he knew that Din had his armor.
Yeah, and I wish I remember the name of the actor.
Tamora Morrison?
Yeah, the guy he plays all the clones and Jango Fett.
Yep.
Yeah, I was glad to see. I was really happy to see that they brought him back for the role and just didn't, like, recast Boba Fett as someone else.
Bro, insert Michael Corleone gif of just when I thought I was out, you pull me back in for Tamora Morrison. That guy, he was like, "Oh yeah, man, Star Wars, such a great chapter in my life." They were like, "Hey, how about 4 Disney Plus shows in the span of like a year? How about that? Would that be okay with you?" I just think it's great that they brought him back.
Same here. Then like one other thing I was gonna say about the episode, I forget the name of the woman he's traveling with.
Fennec Shand.
Yeah, I just remember at the beginning of the episode, I'm like, she looks familiar, but I cannot remember for the life of me who she was. Then I forget. It was probably the episode of the first season that I forgot about the most.
Oh, that was Dave Filoni's second.
That okay, that was his. Yeah,
That was
that
Dave
episode
Filoni's
was
second. Sorry. Yeah.
the weird thing is the main thing I remember about the episode is a woman who is watching Baby Yoda. I forgot everything
Oh,
else that
yeah.
happened in between then. I'm glad they showed a flashback to that at one point in the episode to remind me of who she was.
Yeah, and then Fennec Shand, we know already we've seen is going to be showing up in at least one arc of season 1 of the Bad Batch, because she pops up in the Bad Batch trailer, also being reprised by Ming-Na Wen in that show, which will be very, very interesting. Now, yeah, let's talk about some of this Boba Fett action. Now, Tamora Morrison, he is oh gosh, I want to get the terms right. He is obviously from New Zealand, and he, his family and everything, they practice, the kind of the indigenous people's, religion and stuff like that, and kind of their attributes. So he actually was able to incorporate some of the moves and martial arts skills that he learned as a kid into some of the action here, which I just thought was so awesome that he was able to do that. I just think it's just like what Chris said, like it's just such a great opportunity for Tamora Morrison to be able to come back to this character, that he hadn't played for, gosh,
Right.
I mean, granted, yeah, Battlefront 2, Battlefront, he always voiced Boba, when it wasn't D. Bradley Baker on the Clone Wars, or Rebels, but anything else, it was always, Tamora Morrison would come in and do the voice. But to actually come back in live action and be able to play it after, 15 years, pretty much. Yeah, like 15 years, pretty much. I just think it's such a great opportunity for him. And then to just kick ass on the level that he was kicking ass in this episode, is just like remarkable. Like it's so insane how much he's able to pull off. Like I just have a clip up on the screen right now for everybody to see. Like he is stabbing stormtroopers. He's cracking their helmets open with his
skulls
staff.
and
like,
yeah, that was crazy.
Oh,
I think we were both like, clearly the armor doesn't fit as well as it used to, but still looks cool doing it.
Well, that's the thing is that like Tamora Morrison is not fat. He is like barrel chested. Like he is like he could knock you out with one punch. Like he's built like that. Like the man is literally built like a house in every aspect. And then obviously, so then he kind of does the fighting, and then he kind of breaks off from everybody else. As Mando is, because basically Mando is just up on the rock. The majority of the action in this episode comes from Boba Fett, because Mando is up kind of on Grogu watch, just making sure that he's okay and that nobody is going up to, mess with him or anything like that. Nobody gets too close to him. So then it kind of goes down to Fennec Shand is kind of helping protect them. And then we go away from Boba for a little bit after we see him kind of glance over at the Razor Crest. And then, boom, the next time we see Boba is that amazing shot where he, rises up into frame from behind the stormtrooper and just knocks him out with the back of his hand. Like, so what were you guys' thoughts on this? That we finally get actual Boba Fett back, finally wearing his actual armor, just kind of kicking butt in this episode. Chris, we'll go with you. What were your thoughts on the Boba Fett action with the wrist rockets, the knee rockets, the fists, the gun, everything? You know what I mean? What were your thoughts?
Again, like everything was just great to me. It was just nice to see him back in his armor. Yeah.
Yeah. TJ, how about you?
Yeah, I echo everything Chris just said. What was I gonna say? Yeah, it was just nice to see him like be in the armor again, fighting. I think we were both like, the other thing, we're like, clearly the armor's like dirty and old because it did not look like how we're used to seeing it.
Yeah.
And we're like, are they gonna like, give him a little paint job, which we find out in the next episode that they
We
do
will
that.
see, yeah.
Which again looks so much cleaner.
Oh,
And then there's something that happens. I'm trying to think. I can't remember. I thought there was something that happened and I was like,
episode?
oh, that was really cool. Yeah, but I don't
when
remember.
he uses
It might be like
the rocket launcher to take out the ships.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know if it's this episode or it's another episode when they do when the Slave One drops the
That's the
supersonic
next
bomb thing.
Yeah.
That's the next episode. Ugh. Most satisfying sound ever in any movie ever.
Seismic charges, man.
Yeah, but yeah, I was just it was the fact that I remember saying this to you, and I saw a lot of people saying that it almost looked low budget. I don't know why. I forgot what my exact
you said that you thought it was because this was shot on location, not on the volume.
Right.
You said that you thought it might have been that because it just looked like a bunch of people on a hill
running around
fighting each other. It was like it just kind of looked. I didn't think it looked lower budget. I just thought it looked much smaller scale. That's just what I thought, which I don't think is a bad thing. Even looking, a little bit lower budget, I don't think it's that bad of a thing because it's a TV show. You know what I mean? There's moments in WandaVision that we've seen that, it's like, oh, okay, well, you see the budget a little bit. Vision's head notwithstanding, apparently, which is a whole nother thing that we will talk about. Tune in this Tuesday at 8 p.m. And we will be talking about Vision's head aplenty because we will be reviewing the Marvel Assembled documentary on Tuesday. So yeah, we got some awesome Boba Fett action. Then basically, Boba hops into Slave One ASAP because he is trying to see, what. Oh, actually, sorry, I just skipped probably the biggest beat of the entire episode. So Mando runs down to help Fennec and Boba because shit's getting real. And then as soon as he runs down, the Dark Troopers are deployed and they just swoop down. They grab Grogu. And they just fly right up. And now, obviously, we know Boba Fett's jetpack is not the best jetpack in the world.
Right.
And also, earlier in the episode, to prove that he wasn't that much of a threat to Boba, Din took off his jetpack, also because I'm sure it's pretty heavy and stuff. And he's not used to wearing it. So Din does not have his jetpack. So they are running up the hill, basically, to try and get Grogu before they take off. But they do not do it in time, and the Dark Troopers take Grogu up to Moff Gideon's ship. And then we get this great scene with Boba, where Boba's just like, he hops right into Slave One, and he tries to go up after it, and he kind of, right when he breaks through the clouds, you see Boba Fett, who, everybody is like, obviously he's had moments of vulnerability in Clone Wars and in the prequels and stuff, but somebody who's like, we just watched him be a badass for 20 minutes. Boba craps his pants basically. He breaks the cloud line, doesn't go any further, and he just kind of whispers to himself. He's like, "Oh my God, they're back. The Empire's back." He's like, and then Fennec and Mando are kind of like, "What are you talking about? No,
Right.
what do you mean they're back?" And he's like, "I'm looking right at it." And he's like, you can kind of tell that Boba's kind of shitting himself because he's like, "This is way more than I was ready to get involved in." Again, basically. So he hightails it back down to the surface. And then they have a great scene where, he shows Mando finally, this armor does belong to me, and all that stuff. So what were your guys' thoughts on that, with, Boba trying to go up to save Grogu with the ship, but realizing, this was a fight that he was not ready to take on?
I think it's just kind of like, I just like the realization that it's not over, and that obviously we get kind of hints throughout the show that I mean, it's just kind of nice to see a character realize that, I guess.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think?
I have similar thoughts to TJ on that. I'll be honest, I have a vague. I should have rewatched some of these episodes before I did this. My memory's a little bit hazy on that part, but the part I do remember a bit more is when he's proving to Mando that the armor's his. I just kind of liked how they went through the family history and all that and showed oh, this is how I'm like technically like an honorary Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Um, and on top of that, like one of the things I forgot to mention in was it I think the third episode of season 2, when they're talking to Bo-Katan, how we found out that like um Din what's his name,
Din
the
Djarin.
Mandalorian,
Yeah.
Din Djarin, like how he's part of like a sect of Mandalorians that like
Mm-hmm.
I just like how they explain why some of them take off their helmets and
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I just was appreciative that they like went more into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just thought it was another kick-ass moment with Boba Fett, and I like it kind of finally put to rest because George Lucas had said things some way, Filoni had said things another way. Um, Canon had kind of said things another way with Prime Minister Olmec on Mandalore being like, how Jango Fett came to acquire that armor, I'll never know, but he's
Hmm.
definitely not a Mandalorian. And it's like, well, now it's you kind of realize like that guy he was just BSing Obi-Wan basically and Satine because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So now we realize that no, he is Jango was an honorary Mandalorian, which does link up with his backstory in the comics and everything, and the expanded Legends material on Django, which I would like to see one day. Maybe not live action, but maybe like a canon comic or a canon book about Django's rise to power, or even I would love a Django Fett first person or like third person like video game, like where it's
Well,
a single player story Django Fett video
Hmm.
game.
there is one. Have you ever played Star Wars Bounty
Yeah,
Hunter?
that's I mean like in canon.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I'd
Yeah,
like to see like a remake of that.
yeah, absolutely. And then I would love for it to be, based like go through different eras of Django's life. I think that would be very, very cool. And yeah, so you kind of have this great connection also where it's kind of this mutual respect with Boba and Mando, because Mando realizes Django was basically a foundling just like he was. So it's like if Din Djarin, he considers himself a Mandalorian because he was a foundling. If Din had a kid, they would be Mandalorian just like Boba Fett is. So
Hmm.
it's kind of a nice moment of mutual respect and kind of appreciation between the two characters, if you will. Yeah, so let's go ahead and head to the last shot of this episode, which is oh wait, hang on. Is this the last shot or is this the first shot of the next episode? Regardless, what are your thoughts of when we finally get to see Grogu on Moff Gideon's ship and he's kind of bashing the stormtroopers around? And then Moff Gideon threatens the life of a child with a lightsaber about a centimeter away from his face. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
When he was throwing the stormtroopers around, well, that doesn't look good.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, ooh, like this is going down that path where it's like, I don't know, like if this kid, like, I get he's protecting himself, but
Mhm.
it just their stormtroopers are thrown in such a violent manner
Yeah.
that it kind of makes the viewer think that uh, Grogu is kind of heading down that darker path. And then you just kind of course, like fear for him as well when uh, Giancarlo Esposito comes up and threatens him with the blade.
Then he pulls out the baby cuffs.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, so then the other last shot of this episode with Din is Din returns to Navarro with Boba on Slave One and everything, and they basically he goes up to Cara Dune and he says, I need somebody, and basically they bring up the shot of Bill Burr's character Mayfield again, and that's who we start off the next episode with, which is Mayfield working at this kind of scrapyard as his prison sentence, basically. And then Cara Dune says, you need to come with me. They kind of fake his own death, basically, to try and get him out. And then this is where we get the whole crew starting to come together in Slave One with Boba's sweet, fresh new paint job. So what were your guys' thoughts on the kind of opening of this episode with kind of getting the band back together here to kind of get together to break Grogu out of Moff Gideon's custody and get him back with Mando. What were your guys' thoughts on this? We'll go with TJ first.
Yeah, I was happy to see Bill Burr's character back. I thought he was probably maybe one of the strongest from that episode in the first season. From a very strong episode, might I add, because that episode was like a lot of action, and I thought again directed very well. And Bill Burr, I thought he brings like a nice comedic sense to the role that I like. So I was really excited to bring him back. And then again, it kind of ends where, he could come back again. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was excited to see him back.
Chris, what were your thoughts on the episode overall?
Oh, this is probably my favorite episode this season. Because like Bill Burr's character is like, at least among the original characters like made for the show, is probably my favorite of all of them. So I was very happy to see him back. Was this episode is this the one that Robert Rodriguez did?
That was the
last one. Yeah, that was the last one.
Okay. But yeah, I was so happy to see Bill Burr back. Especially he did such a great job in the one scene where they're talking. Was it like a commander they're talking to? Or
it was a commander that either it was a commander from the Empire. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
then like everything, I just loved everything about the episode. I liked the intense fight scenes on like when they're trying to transport that they're trying to get into the base in the truck. I forget the material they're transporting, and just know it was like extremely explosive.
Yeah, I think it's rhydonium.
Rhydonium, okay.
Yeah, it's from the books and stuff.
Okay, I never read the book, so yeah, I just liked all the banter between all the characters. The chemistry between everyone was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved a lot of this episode with Din having to kind of realize, okay, well, I can't walk in with full-fledged Mandalorian armor because I'm just, I kind of got to go covert. So he does hide his face, but he dresses in a tank trooper outfit, and you kind of get this great scene with Bill Burr and him when they're driving in the convoy to kind of blend in. And Bill Burr kind of calls him on his BS. He's like, what the hell's going on here? He's like, is it you can't take the helmet off? Now you took the whole outfit off. You're just wearing a different.
Right,
he's like, is it you can't take that helmet off? Or I think he specifically says, so what's the rule? Is it you can't show your face or you can't take the helmet off? And Mando's just kind of like, oh, like that. But it's like, it's a valid question. Because it's like you're breaking your own rules left and right here, and you kind of realize that the heartwarming truth of it is he's breaking the rules to save the child. Like that's the only reason he's doing it. And then you see kind of the slow understanding of Mayfeld set in when he has to take his helmet off to scan in, because Mayfeld's like, listen, I'm already in the system. If I try to scan my face to get access, they're gonna pull it up and say, you're a criminal or whatever. But your face, is clean. It doesn't have it's not in the records or anything. Which the logic on that is kind of iffy, because it's like, if his face isn't in the records, why is he getting access? But and then they kind of get caught with the helmet off because this commander tells, he's like, hey, come over here and have a drink with us. And, you can kind of tell Mayfield is understanding that Din feels very uncomfortable with his helmet being off and stuff, so he's kind of trying to talk the conversation. But we get some serious Bill Burr acting and some serious Star Wars lore expansion. So basically, Operation Cinder. Now, Chris, where are you at with the video games? Did you play Battlefront 2, the campaign?
Yeah, I beat the campaign for that.
Yeah, so Operation Cinder, obviously majorly involved in Battlefront 2's campaign with Inferno Squadron and oh crap, what's his name?
Gin.
Iden Versio's dad.
Iden Versio.
Yeah, her father. Basically, it was an operation of the Empire. The Emperor had a bunch of contingency plans, basically, and one of them was Operation Cinder, which was, well, if an empire can't protect its emperor, the empire shouldn't exist. So it's basically
Right.
he just had this thing in motion where these weapons would be deployed on all these planets, and they would just start basically boiling the atmosphere of planets that were against the Empire or with the Empire, because that was Palpatine's whole thing was, if you guys can't keep me alive, you guys don't deserve to be alive either. And so we get the backstory here that we knew from season 1 that Mayfeld was a ex-Imperial sharpshooter, but we find out here that he was boots on the ground for Operation Cinder. So he had to, murder a bunch of people, and then, he also says, Operation Cinder, they didn't care if we were off the planet yet or not. He was like, tons of my, brothers and stuff died because they were still trapped on the planets when the weapons were engaged. And, we got the commander, he makes the big mistake of, he's just like, a sacrifice good for the Empire. So, or the Empire's made better for it or something. And then Bill Burr has a great moment where he's really acting his chops off, and he starts crying, and he just not crying, but like one tearing it Denzel style. And he's like, was it good for them? Was it good for the people that I was protecting that died for this cause that then failed? Like, that the Empire doesn't exist anymore? And then the commander starts to get a little like, well, everything's good for the good of the Empire. And then you could tell the situation is heading south. And then Mayfeld, pulls out the blaster. He just can't deal with it anymore and just blows him away, which I thought was great. So then after that, we get this epic escape kind of where they're just kind of shooting their way out. And then they get picked up by Boba. And then on their way out, we get the great, we get a nice showing of Mayfeld's sharpshooting ability, and he blows up one of the tanks that basically creates a chain reaction, blows up the whole damn place to just get back at everybody, basically. And then, here you go, TJ, this is where we get the beautiful TIE Fighter escape chase, where the TIEs are coming up to Slave One, and there is one weapon that can stop those TIEs, which is the seismic charges, making a reappearance like 18 years later after the Attack of the Clones. So what were you guys' thoughts on this? Do you guys enjoy seeing the seismic charges again and stuff? Was it as satisfying as you remember? What were your guys' thoughts on kind of the tail end and the end of this episode?
I liked the way the episode ended. Like you said, like the whole Operation Cinder thing. I was very happy when they brought in that, because had it been talked about in other things, I'm assuming, or no?
Just kind of like the Battlefront novels and then the game.
Okay, because that was something, like, as much as I was not really a fan of the Battlefront 2 campaign, because I just didn't think that, like, it controlled, I thought it was weird, and I just didn't really like it. I did like that they brought that in, which it kind of made me feel like satisfied that I had played the campaign, and like I'm hoping they do that with like Fallen Order or something. Like if you see that character pop up, where it's like, oh, I'm glad I played the game, so like I know that character. The charge, like, I liked it, the seismic charge, but it was not the exact same.
Yeah,
it was a little different, which I was like, ugh. It was like if we like raise the, I don't even know like what sound setting you would do, but now, if you like just like copy pasted from Attack of the Clones,
this is what I will say. Now, this is what I will say. Granted, there shouldn't be any sound in space, but this is Star Wars, and they have tried to explain it in Legends, and then I think they even tried to explain it in canon and stuff, that like something about the artificial gravity wells and something like that. They have even said, I know this for a fact, in Legends, they said ships have a built-in thing that simulate the sound in like the bridge speakers and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I just chalk it up to it's a movie and you're hearing the sound because there's sound. But that being said, I think it's different because this seismic charge is deployed in atmosphere. So the first seismic charge, it was completely silent, and then when it ruptured, it had the this was kind of like it kind of had it had a beginning sound, which the first
Yeah.
one didn't, which I think
It was close.
threw
It was really
people off.
close. It just wasn't exact
It
same.
wasn't as satisfying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you didn't have Ewan McGregor going seismic charges, like, you know what I mean? It wasn't all there, but it was very, very close. What did you think, Chris?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the same thing as TJ did about like it not sounding quite the same. Like part of me when I first saw it was wondering if it was just like I didn't have like a good sound system or
Yeah.
anything. But I'm glad I'm not the only one that
No, yeah.
yeah. Um but yeah, that whole escape scene was awesome. Um hmm,
Yeah.
Have you played Battlefront 2 or Fallen
yes,
Order or anything?
yes I have. I actually I finally got to the campaign. I think it was like this past December. So I
Mhm.
had the game for a while. I just didn't get around to it. Like yeah, the campaign was okay. But it was really cool that they brought up Operation Cinder. Like it almost
Right.
made me like I know they never did do this, but it'd be really cool if they patched it and just added like Mayfield in there somewhere in the background.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the final scene of this, which is Mando. They now have the information to track Moff Gideon's light cruiser, which is what they were achieving at this plant. So they now have the information to track his light cruiser. So basically, Mando feels confident enough. He leaves. He slides into Moff Gideon's DMs, and he basically does a Uno reverse card on him from season
Mhm.
1, where Mando leaves him a message and says, I'm coming for you. You have something that I want. And so basically, Moff Gideon kind of does a kind of swallows his throat a little because it's like, oh crap, this guy's coming for me.
Mhm.
But he still probably feels ready for it. So
Yeah.
then now we are kicking off with the finale here. So let's dive into the finale. Let's go with
Oh well, sorry.
Oh,
Before
yeah,
that,
sorry.
real quick. At the end of this
Absolutely.
episode, they drop Bill Burr back off, and they're kind of like, "Oh,
yes,
I
sure,
hope
sure.
we gotta return him." And then I think they're in the middle of nowhere. Actually, they're like, "Oh, like we gotta let him go," or like we gotta return him to prison, like where he'll probably rot forever. And they kind of just like let him go, which is like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe he'll come back in the next episode or something, or not next episode, but another season.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they said they were gonna report him dead, and he wasn't.
Right.
I thought it was funny because I probably would have had a similar reaction where it's like I'd have to make them clarify for me that they're letting me go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so then next we are starting off with the finale here. Now, what are your guys' thoughts just as a whole? Just you don't have to give specifics or anything. Just what was your overall thoughts on the Mandalorian season 2 finale episode? TJ, if you want to go first, you can take it away.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of good action. I was excited to see how it ended. I'm glad we I'm almost kind of glad that we got away from a certain character that nobody had anticipated that character would be like. Are we doing spoilers? Like it's a review, right? Like,
Yeah.
or should we wait until we get there?
I mean, I guess we could do whatever. We could wait until if you're talking about the cameo, I guess we could just wait until we get there.
Oh, that's not what I was talking about.
Oh, okay, then yeah.
Well, I guess I kind of am, but like we kind of like get away from like Grogu at the end, which I kind of liked because going into the first season, nobody knew that that's what the first 2 seasons of the show would be about.
Yeah,
right.
They thought it was just a show about a Mandalorian.
Exactly. So I was kind of happy to see that, like, oh, like we spent 2 seasons with this character and now he's gone. Like, what's next?
Yeah,
it's not like me
that.
Thinking like, oh, are we just gonna like
just gonna be
how much
Mando
longer are we gonna have
Grogu
to protect
show.
this kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, what did you think overall?
Yeah, I thought it was phenomenal. Like everything together about it was great. Like the cameo at the end just made me very happy. Like I was telling my wife after I watched that episode that like for the first time in a while since I wasn't very happy with the sequel trilogy, and I just been kind of a little bit numb on Star Wars, even after the first season of The Mandalorian, which I did enjoy. But I just liked the season so much, especially with the finale, that it like started making me excited about Star Wars again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved it.
Boom. Yeah, there you go. I will say for me, I love this finale. I think it's right up there with some of the best Star Wars we've gotten in a long time. It's definitely probably maybe the best Star Wars live action we've gotten in a long time. It's just tight. You know what I mean? It's just a tight
Mm-hmm.
finale. There's not a lot of fat on it. It really just gets to the core of what we're doing. And then, like TJ kind of alluded to, um, I love the choice that they made with Grogu. I love that choice that they were like, all right, he served the purpose for this time. Maybe they end with the classic like, oh, we'll see each other again, like that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And it's like maybe in the finale, like the series finale, maybe Mando, he helps beat Thrawn, and then he's like, all right, now I can rest, kind of thing. Like, and he goes and he checks in on him, and then he's like, oh my god, who's this Ben kid? He's killing everybody.
Yeah.
But no, but really, like, I'm really glad that we're getting away from that, and I don't want any Grogu in season 2. I don't want, like, if you're gonna bring him back at the
Season
very
3.
end, in season 3, yeah, correct. But bring him back like at the very end of the show, or just don't even bring him back at all, and use the character in some other capacity. Because you had a hit on your hands with that character. It was really, really great for what it needed to be. And then I think it's the same thing when you see a show that knows when to wrap itself up. Filoni and Favreau knew, all right, it's time to wrap up Grogu's story and start getting into the big picture
Mm-hmm.
here, which I just think is great. And then obviously I also love the cameo. It felt right, like it felt right within universe, that cameo would happen. um and then also they didn't dwell on the cameo too much. It was just in and
Mm-hmm.
out, served its purpose, helped him out, and did what it needed to do, and that was it. It didn't linger. He wasn't like,
Right.
I'm joining the team, or
Yeah.
you're
Oh
coming
my
with me.
God.
Like, that would have been like too much.
Yeah.
How did you think it looked?
The
I thought it
CGI.
looked good. Yeah,
So
like I didn't think it looked.
let's just get there and talk about it, because there's a lot of cool action here, but we don't review
Yeah.
the action, we review the story. So let's just jump forward. The cameo that we're talking about, of course, is the Jedi that responded to Grogu's call on Typhon. Is none other than Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. So that is who we're talking about. Sorry, TJ, you can continue.
Yeah, I just when he walked in, I felt like it looked pretty good. I think a lot of people like everybody's been, everybody was fan casting like, oh, Sebastian Stan is like a young Luke Skywalker, which I don't really see. Is that just
Really?
me?
Yeah, okay,
I
so this is what I'll say. If they ever want to do a Luke show, I think
Yeah.
you can't keep up the CG thing for an
Oh
entire
no,
show.
no,
I would say if they do a Luke show, I can't think of, I'll just say it, I can't think of anyone else that could play him besides Sebastian Stan,
right.
because he just looks
Um,
so much like him.
I mean, it didn't like. Oh wait, so like Hamill was on the set, right? They just de-aged him,
Yeah,
or no?
yeah.
Okay, that's what I
It
thought.
was just like an Avengers, he did all the acting, they just
Right.
de-aged him.
Uh, yeah, like I didn't think it looked like terrible or anything. Like I thought it looked pretty good. I thought I had seen like a decent amount of things being like it was pretty iffy. And I was like,
Mhm.
I thought it looks, but yeah, then there was all those like theories of like, oh, is like Ezra gonna show up? Is that the Jedi or something like that? Like,
Yeah.
but as soon as you see the X-wing, you kind of know.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
about to
But yeah,
come
I was
knocking.
happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, what were your thoughts overall on the cameo, and the actual look of like the CGI and stuff like that, and how they handled the character showing up?
Oh yeah, I thought they handled it like pretty much perfectly. Like in terms of how he looked, I thought he looked really good as well. Like, excuse me. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Um like there were like a few blemishes here and there. One interesting thing I saw was like somebody made a video where they did the same scene except they made like a deep fake of Luke where
Mm-hmm.
it almost looked up nearly about the same, if not a little bit better. Um I mean, that doesn't detract about the final product. I just thought that was interesting where you have like the deepfake stuff versus like
Yeah.
all the CG technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like one like blind hope that I doubt would ever happen that I think would be cool. Like once Luke takes Rogu with him, like when we were talking about earlier, like people speculating on the background story of Rogu, it'd be cool if they had like kind of like a Jedi Academy style show where it's like Luke teaching like his new students and all that, and like maybe each episode would focus on like a story of a different student or something along the lines of
Hmm.
that. If they ever felt the need to continue Rogu's story. But yeah, I thought they handled it really well. I forgot? Did Luke recognize Boba Fett, or was he
Boba
with
wasn't
them at
there.
that point?
No,
Oh, he
yeah,
wasn't
he
there.
he uh he
Okay,
bounced out. Yeah, that definitely would have been a very interesting interaction.
yeah,
But even like Moff Gideon was knocked out behind, neatly tucked behind the console when Luke walked in, because clearly those two characters definitely should recognize each other. Like, because clearly Moff Gideon recognizes who Luke is right away, because he tries to pull the
Mm.
gun on himself and he's like, nope, I'm not. Bye. Like,
Mm.
um, but then obviously when Luke actually comes in there, Moff Gideon's all knocked out, so that we don't actually see that interaction happen. And that's another thing that I think that they did pretty well is, you didn't need to see those interactions, because it's like it wasn't that important to the story. It was a story about
Right.
Luke just coming and helping out in that exact moment. And it makes sense for the character of Luke, because we know that's what he was doing. He was out there. He was looking for Jedi artifacts. He was helping people. He was being the Jedi of the galaxy, basically. Um, you know, yeah, I just think it was a great use of his character, to come in and fill in this exact spot that he was needed. I think it was nice for Mark Hamill to be able to come in and play him again. Um, so yeah, I think it was great, with that, and then obviously we get him taking him with him. And then that is the final scene of the finale, which we will, in a second, we'll talk about the post-credit scene. But that's the final scene of the finale, is Luke heading off with Grogu to take him out to his Jedi Academy on Octu. You'd have to assume. So what are your guys' thoughts overall on this season? Just quick wrap up, just a few sentences. We'll go with TJ first. What were your thoughts overall on the season in just a few words?
I thought it was a very good season. I thought it was better than the first. There's definitely, obviously, like the second episode, I think is maybe one of the weakest.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of just like it's almost like a bridge between the first and the third. But yeah, I was happy with the ending, the cameo. I was excited that Grogu kind of got taken. Not, I would have liked to see more of him, but like I'm glad he's kind of out of the picture now, because then you
Hmm.
can kind of focus more on. You can even lean more into Din Djarin as a character and more adventures for
Yeah,
season 3. So this just made me want season 3 even more to see what they come up with.
absolutely. Yeah. Chris, how about you?
um, well, my only disappointment was I was really before I found out it was Luke, I was really hoping that Cameo would be Jar Jar Binks.
What?
No, no, seriousness though, like I love the season. Like I like all the appearances of like characters from different shows and like books and like mentions from events and like even the video games.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It felt like it was like tying like everything the universe up a lot more. And like I mentioned earlier how like I wasn't the biggest fan of like the sequel trilogy. Part of the reason why was like I just got a little bit annoyed how they didn't really explain like the origins of the First Order, at least that well within the films. And like part of where I'm hoping they're going with all these like Disney Plus shows is like I'm hoping it's like starting to lead up into like a satisfying origin of the First Order.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just got a feeling that's where they're starting to go. Like I did
Yeah, I
have
would
a
hope so.
question
Definitely.
for
Yeah.
you guys. Like, so we were talking about earlier with Rogu, were they extracting like his blood or something earlier? I just remember they had like these like blue vials, I think.
Yeah, it was like his blood, or like his like material, like his cells and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
did Moff Gideon, did he use that on himself in the last? I just remember him doing something with those vials in the last episode. Or am I remembering
I think
that
he just
wrong?
tried to like grab him. I think, but he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't like inject himself or anything.
Oh yeah, because yeah, I was wondering if he like kind of what we're talking about. I think we were talking about this earlier with the idea of
Mhm.
like infusing like non like force people who could
People
use
with it.
the force, yeah, to give it to
Hmm.
the ability to do that.
I would not be surprised if eventually that is what happens.
Mhm.
If eventually we get somebody, you know, juicing up with some metachlorians in one of these shows, I think it would be very interesting. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's close out by talking about this post credit scene here. So obviously this is the post credit scene tie-in to the book of Boba Fett, which is going to be the newest show, the next live action series coming out on on Disney Plus for Star Wars. What were you guys' thoughts on this? Finally seeing the actual demise of Bib Fortuna on camera, and all of that goodness with Fennec and Boba kind of wrecking shop in Jabba's palace. What did you think?
I'm excited for it. I'm interested to see where it goes, see more of that character. Um, did he? Oh no, it announced it. It did like a title card like right after.
Right at
Because I
the
was like
end, yeah.
John Favreau went on GMA like the day after, I think, and it was like, oh
And
yeah, blah,
announced
blah,
it,
blah.
yeah, officially.
Right. When is that coming out again? Is it this year or next year?
Yeah, this year. November.
I think it's
20
okay.
November 2021, something like
Okay,
that.
season 3 is next year in November, right? I believe.
There's no month yet, but it's 2022 for season 3 of
2022.
Mando. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would kind of hope that obviously leading into the whole like he's taking over maybe like Jabba's whole like, you know, bounty hunter type thing, like ordering bounties and stuff like that. But as well as the whole Camino thing, like you said, I would like to see them dive into that. If I know it's only like 4 episodes, right? Isn't it really short?
Oh, is it? I don't know. I can't remember.
I thought that's what I could be
I
wrong.
thought they said
I
at
thought
least
that's
6.
what it was.
Let me
Oh,
see.
okay. Well, if it's that, then they have more leeway.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris? Are you excited?
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. The only thing is, I wish we got to see more of like fat Bib Fortuna. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very excited. I don't have much to add beyond that, unfortunately.
No,
I
you're
thought the scene itself was like really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were right. It's reportedly a 4-episode mini-series.
Right.
Dang.
So I don't know what they're gonna do with that then.
Yeah. It'd be very
I'm hoping
interesting.
that-
Unless the episodes are like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
But at that point, it's like a movie.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that'll do it for our Planet Council episode. What did we say? Episode 9 of Planet Council. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Next week, we'll be going back to Planet Hero on Saturdays, because next week will be the first episode, will be our first episode reviewing episode 1 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is going to be premiering on Disney Plus later this week. So yeah, I think that'll do it again. Thank you for joining us on the Planet Film Network. My name is Sean Monk. You can follow me right there on Twitter and Instagram at Paste Eating Yak. Make sure to check out our link in the description for our merch store. We have awesome merch on there. We have some mugs and hoodies and blankets and everything under the sun, face masks, anything that you guys might want. And we have some cool designs up there with both your lovely hosts' faces on them, so you could get a mug with our mugs. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Chris. Do you wanna plug anything that you want to plug, or just say whatever you want to say, and then TJ, you want to close us out after?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for having me. Apologize for some of my more stuttering or droning on
Oh,
moments.
no problem.
You're good.
Not always the best talker, but yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was really fun.
Absolutely.
So with that, you can follow me at TJ_Cornwell on Twitter and Instagram. So don't forget to like, subscribe, comment on this video. Check out our other videos as well. We got some good reactions. And then check us out Tuesday, 8 p.m. for the Planet Film podcast live show. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.